You know, when I first saw the trailer, for me the question was going to be, how do we connect with this old man? How much work went into the script developing that first segment where we kind of get the introduction to him?
A lot. I mean, and it was pretty crucial because we came up with this idea first of a floating house, and then we kind of reverse engineered. Well, who's in the house? Where are they going? Why? Why do I care? You know, and all the stuff we did at the beginning was central to why do I care? You know, he can be going off to this weird exotic quest, but I want to know why, and am I invested in that? And so that's what the beginning was all about. And we developed it pretty early on, and we started with a big, long thing, and we cut it down and honed it to this. It's about 4.5 minutes with just music, no dialogue or even sound effects. And I don't know. To me, I get more emotionally invested without the dialogue and sound effects. I think it allows people to kind of bring a little of their own, like, what are they talking about? What are they laughing at? What's happening? And fill in the blanks and become a part of the movie in a way, you know. I don't know if that makes sense, but that was a fun part to work
on. All right. Going back along those exact same lines, yesterday being Easter, we were sitting with the grandparents, and I was thinking this is something that the grandparents would love. Like,
Good.
I could see them loving it. Was that always part of the plan?
Definitely. Well, I mean, I'm really inspired by, you know, the Capra films and the Disney films that I grew up with, Lady and the Tramp and so on, and wanted to kind of reach back into time and get a little bit of the feeling of those films, but of course still using the technology and all the stuff that we have available at Pixar. And so if this movie got kids and their grandparents to go to see the movie together, I think that'd be awesome. Yeah. And hopefully, like, you look at, I remember this happening to me, meeting one of the Disney 9 old men, you know, this old guy sitting in his chair all hunched over from animating over his drawing board for years and years, and then you shake hands and you're like, that's the hand that drew Snow White and Cinderella, and oh my God, you know, and there's a really great, rich history to these people that a lot of times you sort of dismiss or you don't really think about. And if people kind of look at their grandparents in a new way, that would be cool. Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you.
I found it interesting that the sort of this emotional center of both and Monsters Incorporated, sort of the surrogate parent relationship. And I'm wondering what it is about that as a kind of an emotional center that you might find particularly appealing as something that you kind of latch onto in stories.
That's a good question. I don't know. I haven't really self-analyzed it that way, but I mean, I think for me the main thing that I got really excited about in this one was this idea of kind of redefining what adventure is, you know. And for most of us, we think of adventure as traveling to exotic places and meeting wild, famous people, and, you know, seeing things nobody has ever seen. And, you know, I think of my own life. I've done a couple of these road trips with my kids, and we always go to national parks and, you know, see all this amazing stuff. And the thing that I remember the most looking back is the little times we were playing dominoes together, and or the time when my daughter got locked in the bathroom by accident, and, you know, just little goofy things that are more about the people and the connections. And so that's, of course, what Carl learns, is that adventure is, the real adventure is this relationship that he had with his wife, not the exotic, broad-reaching travel. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's the theme of the film. So almost as we were developing that, we started thinking about what could Carl be missing that this kid could fulfill, and vice versa. You know, Russell has sort of character holes that Carl fulfills, and so kind of designed the characters that way, and probably stumbled into similar turf as we did on Monsters. So, yeah.
You know, after going through a project like this, how long did this? First of all, how long did it take? And when you get to the end of something like this, what do you feel? I mean, is it like a sadness, a relief?
All those.
Are you going to miss these people?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this one, from beginning to end, excuse me, let me just stop talking with my mouth full. From the beginning to end was about 5 years. And, you know, along the way, you start to know these characters almost like friends, which sounds kind of like hokey or weird or something, but you just start to know, like, how do they speak? What words would Carl use? And how would he approach a situation or react to something? And so by the end, you know, I'm exhausted, but I'm also sort of sad to let it go because it was a lot of fun. Not only for the project, but the people I got to work with. You know, working with Michael Giacchino, who did the music, was so fun and such a nice guy. Bob Peterson, who was he was basically the head writer and co-director on the show. And same thing, you know, these really great people.
I just wanted a little bit, I'd say, sadder up front than most Pixar movies because Carl's wife died. Was that ever a topic that came up in how the developing the story, if that was a good idea or not? Because I mean, I just think, I don't know how to put it really, but it just seems that a lot of Pixar movies get sad towards the end, whereas this one started off with sad.
Then we get that out of the way, and then we get to the funny stuff.
It kind of had to go backwards.
Yeah. You know what? It never came up. It never was really discussed as like, oh, this is inappropriate or anything. It was more just a matter of answering the age-old question, do I care? You know, and when we didn't have it, he just didn't really care about Carl as much. And you know, something that we kept working on throughout the making of it was really reinforcing why Carl's going where he's going. You know, if you don't have a clear goal that the audience is invested in, or at least thinks they want that for the character too, then your film kind of meanders and falls apart a little bit. And so it was really central, because we had so much comedy and action and adventure and stuff. I think it really needed that sort of foundation of that emotional bedrock that you start with and then build on. And that was, you know, there's no rules. Every film's different. But that's what this one seemed to need. So, yeah. You guys have any questions?
No.
You sure? Not yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
Thank you.
We don't have to go in order.
Yeah.
This is your guys' thing.
You know,
So they can get so uncivilized.
Oh, yeah, all right.
you know, one of the funny things I think about Pixar films, particularly the last 2 or 3, maybe 4, is that the industry seems to, or at least people within the industry, are saying this is the one that's going to fail. And you know, and if you look at the surface, the ideas seem very unusual.
Yeah.
Do you think it's because you were willing to take 5 years to develop a script that you have kept from failing, whereas a lot of the other studios throw sequels together in a year and a half or 6 months?
Well, I can't speak to other studios, but I know on every one of our films we have failed. You know, at one point or another, the movies are either really just kind of mediocre or downright awful. And we just allow ourselves the time to redo it until it's good. And it's only then that we release them. So even though, of course, we have production schedules and timelines and budgets and all that stuff, you have to, otherwise we'd never finish. We do allow ourselves time, and we put the focus on that to just get it right. You know, make sure that the story and the characters are working, which is easy to say, but it's hard to do.